Hello, gentlemen. I know we've made notes on the law of demand. I know we've made notes on shifting demand curves, and I'm hoping that we have made some notes on elasticity, which was posted onto our slides. I know today was probably a bit annoying, but anyways, we've got through that. So I strongly recommend watching the video and using your notes as well. And basically we're going to create, and I know we've substituted some time to work on, just we were studying for our assessment. So I'm hoping this will clear a lot of things up for us and should get hopefully everyone on track, because we've had people in and out of the classroom. So first of all, we're looking at the law of demand. So law of demand, put very simply, is basically when you have two, so if you've got a product, right, so if we go down here, so if you have a product and you're trying to sell it, so always quantity of demand is on the x-axis, so the horizontal axis, and price will be up the top, and this is on the vertical axis or y-axis. Alright, so law of demand. Basically, law of demand, put simply, there's something called normal good. Basically, this follows what the law of demand is. So, the law of demand put on a graph looks like this. So, what this indicates that as price decreases, the quantity of demand increases. So, as price decreases, quantity demanded of that product will increase. So, say if this is $10 up here, and $2 down here, alright? So we've got our 2 points, so $10 up here at this point, and then we come across here, so the two quantities. So if the price is high, the quantity demanded is low. The price is low, quantity demanded high. So basically, the law of demand put simply, as price rises, quantity demanded decreases. So if we put that on this, so price increase, this leading to a quantity demanded decrease. So not all goods follow this simple law though. So there's something called Giffen or inferior goods. Okay, so with a Giffen or inferior good, it actually works in the opposite to our law of demand. So this is quantity demanded, and this is the price. So Giffen slash inferior good. So why these are separate is basically they don't follow the same, they go in the opposite way. So, if this red line is our demand curve, so DC. So, for a normal good, as we've said, follows the law of demand. If price increases, quantity demanded will decrease. For an inferior good, it's displayed with this graph and it's the opposite. So basically, if we've got, say, $6 here, $2 here, basically, the cheaper it gets, the less the demand is. So these are more referring to, say, luxury goods. Okay, so this is all, a lot of this depends on preference of the customers and stuff like that. Maybe it depends on your disposable income, all that sort of stuff. So here, so as the demand as price decreases, there's actually less quantity demanded. But for the more expensive it gets, the higher the demand. Okay? So Giffen goods and inferior goods are also they can become a little bit technical, and you really have to know sort of what the product is. So, say for example, we've got rich people in the area, okay? So they want the newest Ferrari, okay? A Ferrari would be a Giffen good, okay? Because it's like a status good, okay? So say, like, you've got your standard prices of Ferraris. The cheaper Ferraris, they're down here. So even though the price is low, the demand is low just because of that status that comes with the Ferrari, okay? Now up here, the more expensive ones, so the higher the price, the greater the demand, because if you've got enough money to pay for a Ferrari, you want to be seen in a good one, okay? So that's a Giffen or inferior good, okay? That's for like luxury goods. It also can work in a slightly opposite way. Whereas say you've got, say you have, so if we got the top here, got this one, then we come across. Alright, so say you have, so always quantity demanded and price. So say you've got differences in terms of like income. So say your disposable income. So for some goods, obviously, you've got the lower your disposable income, you're going to start looking at some of the lower priced items, okay? So this sort of works with this one here, okay? So this sort of works with normal goods. So the cheaper the price, then like if you've got a low income, you're going to be trying to look for these ones here, the cheaper prices, and you're going to try and demand more of those goods, okay? More of those, so they might be inferior goods, so they might not have a brand or something, like maybe it just doesn't taste the same as those more, say, trusted brands or higher quality brands. But what can happen is foods can also be Giffen goods. So say for example you have a low income, so low disposable income. So say you're here, all right? So you're going to be trying to look for like cheaper items, okay? So you're going to be coming down, but you're actually following the normal demand curve, okay? Now for people who have high incomes, they're actually going to go this way, right? So they want those better quality goods. This is so high disposable income. So they don't want the cheap products, okay? It's sort of a bit of a status thing, you know? They don't want to be seen purchasing those lower priced items because they're seen as just not very good quality. So what people with a lot of disposable income, even middle income earners, basically if they've got the money, they will try and go up here, okay? And they'll try and move this way. So it's like you can either buy, so say this is your standard chocolate. So this could be Cadbury. Okay? If you're coming this way, say you don't have much disposable income, you'll try and purchase it at the cheapest price possible. Okay? Because you can still satisfy those wants. You get cheap chocolate. Maybe it just doesn't taste the best, okay? Or if you've got high disposable income, basically you don't want these low products. You just don't like the taste. You don't want to be seen purchasing it. So you're going to go up here. You might purchase like Lindt chocolate, okay? It's just like on the status of chocolate, Lindt is considered to be higher in terms of its like quality of chocolate over Cadbury, okay? So you'll be up here. So this is for people with high disposable incomes, all right? So yeah, so they're also like for Giffen goods, and that's what I mean. Giffen goods can be they've got a couple of interpretations. All right. So if that's happened, so that goes through that. Now we want to move on, and so now there's a couple of exceptions. So one of the first exceptions, if we draw our graphs again. Sorry, that isn't price. So we're going to look at when there's two different goods. Okay, so this is actually, on this axis, we've got fish and meat. And on this axis, we've got bread and rice. So we're looking at two separate types of foods. So fish and meat, they're more of a luxury item. Bread and rice, they're a staple household item, okay? So you're going to see more families. So if you've got a lower income, you're going to be consuming more of this. If you've got middle, you might consume a balance. If you've got a high disposable income, you might be consuming more, say, fish and meat, because you can afford it. So bread and rice, relatively cheap to consume. Basically cheap, right? Fish and meat. Some meat and some fish can get extremely expensive. Obviously, there's varying levels, but they can get extremely expensive. So, what this is going to indicate is basically what happens if prices of some things increase or decrease. So, say we're here. We've got a balance between the two. To the consumer, these are sort of, both their prices are fair, so they will consume a mixture, okay? All right, so now what happens? Say, for example, these staple products, or bread and rice, the price of those increases. So the price of our, say, regular household items has increased. So what this will do is actually decrease the demand for fish and meat, because now we don't have as much disposable income. So some of our disposable income is now taken, because now we've got to pay more for these standard items that we require, so that we will purchase over fish and meat. So some of our disposable income is used. So now it's focused over here. All right. So we're going to shift this way, because the price of bread and rice has increased. So because of that, now to fill up the majority of our diet, we're going to have to purchase more of those. Now the opposite can occur. If bread and rice stays the same, but the price of fish and meat decreases. So fish and meat decreases, so the price decreases, we're actually going to see more people start to consume some of these luxury items. So quantity demanded will increase. And this is because these luxury items have become more affordable. Those who have, say, not as much, or don't have maybe in low to medium in terms of their, disposable income, okay, they will actually purchase more of this, because it's more affordable. They have higher purchasing power, so they're going to actually come down here and they're going to purchase more fish and meat just because they can. It's cheaper. To them, to the consumer, it looks better. It looks more attractive, basically. All right, so they're going to consume more of this while it's low. Okay, so the demand will increase. All right. So this explains how some other goods work as well. So, moving on. All right. What we want to go through next is, so that's the sort of stuff from Law of Demand. So that was probably our first lesson. All right. So now we can move on. Alright, so say for example, we have this table here. Alright, I'll just fold this again. Alright, we've got this table, so this is the one that was given to us. Okay, so we're going to graph this. Alright, so first of all they do is they've got the demand, so the quantities are given, so the price, this is the price for bananas, okay? So price per kilo. So at $1, the quantity demanded from person A is 40, and the quantity demanded from person B is 30. So we can now work out the total market demand. So individual demand is here. Total market demand is the total of each of these, okay? So pretty straightforward. So, and then this just goes through the demand, how it's been changing for each one of them. Alright, so what we want to do now is then we can graph this. So these are our totals. So we've got that. So for price, we'll put this on the vertical axis. Go right in the middle somewhere. Alright, so we'll give ourselves enough room so that we can go above and beyond. So on this axis, we're going to have quantity demanded. On this axis, the price of bananas per kg. Okay, this is quantity demanded for the market. So there's 0 here. So you might get given grid references. It really depends, but if we go and we mark this out, to make a really nice clean graph. Alright, so we've got the price here. We've got $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9. And now because we're graphing the market, we need to put the market quantity demanded, which is this side. So we're going to go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and then 100. So what we've sort of learnt is that we could go the absolute maximums and stuff like that. So when it's at $8, it's 0. So we can go, and our total quantity demanded is 70. Alright, so we can do this. So 8 at 0, then we come down. We can go to the 8, but this bit we don't really need, but we'll explain that after. So we've got our sort of max points. So at $8, our quantity demanded is 0. When it's at $7, quantity demanded is 10, and so forth. So it goes down through that. So this is our demand curve. So we've been given this. So what we want to work out is the total expenditure. So total expenditure, we want to get each of these. So we want to times the quantity demanded by the price. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, quantity demanded 1 by 70. This is the price. This is the QD. This is total consumer expenditure. All right, so this is what we're trying to work out. So quantity demanded here is 2. So at a price of, so when the bananas are $1, you're going to get 70. So total consumer 1 times 70. Cost the consumer $70. All right, perfect. That's where they want it. They can get heaps of bananas. Happy to get it. Okay, so the next one goes to 60, and we'll go through. We can put out the rest of this. All right, so 2 times 60, 120. 3 times 50, 150. 4 times 40, 160. 5 times 30, 150. 2 times 60, so 6 times 20 is 120. 7 times 10, 70. 8 times 0, 0. So we've got our total expenditure. So say, for example, the price of bananas is $4, all right? So we're working here, okay? So what we want to do to mark out our total consumer expenditure is we want to mark this on the graph. So we'll do it in black. All right, so you go to the 4. You'll come out, you make a nice line out to the 40, and then you'll come down. So what this represents, this area here, this represents the total consumer expenditure. All right, so this is the total amount for the market that has been spent on bananas, okay? Now what this bit up the top here indicates, this bit here, this represents the consumer surplus. Basically, what this indicates is that when the price of bananas is $4, this amount here is what consumers are saving because the price isn't at $4. This is how much they're able to, this is what they're saving, okay? So that's pretty much what that indicates. So, yeah, so that's graphing the market demand. That's us working out our total consumption, which is this area here, which we've worked out or indicated is $160. And we've also worked out our consumer surplus. Alrighty. So if we now move on, what we want to go through next is now, so that's basically that first lesson. So that's looking at, that's everything under, say, the law of demand, all right? So moving on, what we want to look at now, so if I move that down there. So what we want to look at now is basically movements along the demand curve. So we're looking at, so movements along and shifts of demand curve. So movements along and shifts of the demand curve. Alright, so first we'll start off with movements along. So if we've got alright, so we've drawn that out. Again, quantity demanded. And we've got price. So we'll draw our demand curve again. So say we are at point A. So when there is a movement towards point B, where price increases and quantity of demand decreases, this is referred to as a contraction. Now the opposite, when you've got the price decreases, quantity demand increases, when it goes this way, this is called a extension. So this depends basically on, like, you can have a number of things. So if the price of another product goes down, or say something else, maybe just the quantity demanded. So this all depends. So we're thinking about one product and we're just thinking about how quantity demanded changes the price basically. So this is, you can set the price, you set the price, and this is basically going to determine where you are in terms of how much quantity is demanded, right? So if you own your own business, you set the price. This basically indicates how it's going to affect your quantity demanded. So that's movements along the demand curve. So now we want to move on to shifts in the demand curve. So a shift in the demand curve, we had an example of a pizza place. So, or basically pizza. So we'll use that example. All right. So if we've got our pizzas, so the example for pizzas, what if I open this back up? So we were given this example here. So this is the prices of the pizzas. This is the quantity that's demanded. So this stops at $6. I would just assume that they cannot go any cheaper, otherwise they are not making a profit. All right, so you got to remember these businesses, they're still working to try and make a profit. So that explains that. All right, so if we've got this, so with a shift, as what can happen is if you've got something that, say something external happens, all right? So if we use pizza as a reference, so again, we've got quantity demanded here. So we're using pizza. We've got the price. So say, for example, there's a substitute good. All right, so we are going to use, say, for example, so we use the example that we got, or the question. So it was the price of pies. So the price of pies. If the price of pies increases, right, this is therefore going to lead to a decrease in demand. Decrease in quantity demanded of pies. Okay? Now, what does this do for us? Basically, it's going to shift our demand curve. So they don't care now. They're happy to go out this way. Alright, so basically what this indicates is, say this is where we're at. Alright, so this is where we were. So our price was here. Say, I don't know, just go $10. Quantity demanded, go like 400 or something, alright? So we were here. Now, because the price of a substitute good, or just another good, so yeah, price of a substitute good. So the price of pies is increased. Now people are like, I don't know, I'd prefer to get something a bit bigger or something better. Or maybe it's just too expensive. I don't value it. So what has happened now is our demand curve has actually shifted outwards. So basically what this indicates now, I've got electrocuted. What this indicates is basically our consumers for pizzas are now happy so they're happy to, quantity demanded has increased at all the same at any price. So our overall quantity demanded has increased at every single price. Okay, just because the price of these pies or the substitute goods has increased. So say now, because of that, people are willing to consume. So quantity demand is now up to 500 and still at $10. So $10. So we were at 400. That was the quantity demanded. Because of this, now we're at 500. So people are happily consume at greater consumption at any price. All right. So say for the next example, say the price of raw materials is increased. So the price of say flour, flour is increased. What this will do for us is send this the opposite way. So it's made our pizzas more expensive to make. So we've got to charge a little bit more. So quantity demanded is actually going to shift inwards, okay? So less people are going to consume. So it's almost like the opposite of the pies. Okay, so maybe the price of pies is because I don't know, the supply of those factors of production became more expensive. So yeah, there was less pies. So yeah, so say if there's an increase in the flour, basically what this is going to do is going to shift our demand curve left. Okay, so when there's a shift left in the demand curve, basically consumers are willing. So yeah, consumers are going to demand less across every price because the price of our pizzas is increased, okay? Because of this flour. Right, so our quantity demand, so for us, there's now a decrease in the quantity demanded. Okay, so yep, that shows the shift. Alright, so now if we go on to another sort of situation, we will look at is that one? No, okay, that's right. Okay, so say if we were given those situations in our book. So there was changes in the prices of other offers. So these are all the things that came after shifts in demand. So we're looking at, so we wrote down situations that would occur and we looked at where the shifts would, like which way the demand curve would shift. So we looked at what happens if there's a change in the price of other goods. We also looked at changes in tastes and preferences or fashion. We also looked at changes in income, changes in population size, composite and age, changes in income distribution, changes in expectations, and changes in technology. So what we just went through, was changes in, say, the price of other goods, or the changes in the price of things that get put into our, so the change in the prices of inputs, so raw materials. So if we turn over, now we'll have a look at what happens when there is an increase in income or a decrease. Okay, so we'll show increase. Obviously, if there's a decrease, it's the opposite. All right. Income. So basically, this is sort of referring to your like disposable income. But yeah, so if you gain a higher income, basically you're able to purchase more. So you might not care about sort of what the price is now. All right, so you're going to see a shift right. Yeah, so you're going to see a shift. There's a shift right because of an increase in income. So now you sort of don't care. You're happy to sort of spend what you want. You're happy to consume, or you're happy to pay, or you're happy to consume at any, so consumption. So quantity demanded has increased across all the prices, okay, because of this shift, because of the rise in income. So obviously, if income has decreased, maybe you got less disposable income, this is going to decrease. So say maybe, for example, during COVID, you had a lot of people who were maybe working less, or some people lost their jobs. So the consumption of maybe fast food, or maybe they spent, so consumption of fast food may have decreased because people were trying to sort of save more money. So their disposable income decreased. This might have seen, so say for pizzas, the price, or the quantity demanded may have decreased across all prices of pizzas. So if we now, that's income. Now, if we have a look at changing preferences, so say for changing preferences, say an article comes out, they bag out pizza, they say Domino's, they're trying to kill you. Alright, so Domino's is trying to kill us. Basically what they said is that pizza leads to, say, pizza, unhealthy, leads to heart failure. So what this will do, so the consumers of pizzas, they become a big concern, now those people who love their Domino's pizza, they're starting to think, oh my God, I've consumed a lot of pizza, my heart is going to fail. So what they do, so if this is our quantity demanded, basically what's going to happen is you're going to see a downward shift. People are like, I am concerned, I've consumed way too much pizza. So you're going to see a decrease. So quantity demanded will decrease, and it's shown by a shift left. Okay. Another one. We'll make this a bit smaller. So another example. So that's a change in, say, preferences. So people are now preferring not to eat pizza because basically it's classified as sort of unhealthy. So another way this could happen is, say, maybe say some health professional comes out and he says eating an apple a day will keep the doctor away, all right? Something like that. What you'll see is then, quantity demanded will increase at all levels of prices. Right, which would be shown by a shift right. Next one, so maybe we'll have a look at changes in population. So when we think about population, we're thinking about people who are young, middle, and old. We want to look at how is our economy made up. So if your economy has a lot of young people, say where you are, say where you're located, say there's a lot of young people. Okay, or the average age limit is quite young, right? You're going to see the prices go this way, okay? They will consume pizza, they'll consume things that, maybe a bit unhealthy, but they don't care. They're still young, all right? So you're going to see this shift outwards, okay? That's just how the age population is made up. So this indicates a young population. All right. So the opposite. Say your location. It's a lot of older people. All right. They prefer just cooking at home. Maybe they need to look after themselves more. When they eat, it needs to be more carefully selected. So the demand of your pizzas is going to decrease, okay? If you're in an area or your population around you is a lot older. So I'm talking, say, maybe after retirement age or say maybe like 55 or something and above, okay? So they're not going to be consuming pizzas and stuff like that. They just can't put that on. They need to be eating really like pretty healthy meals, okay? Alright, so they need to sort of look after themselves a little bit more. So what's going to happen is you're going to see a shift left in the demand, which indicates that the quantity demanded at all prices will decrease. Alright, that's that one. So now we'll have a look at income distribution. So for income distribution, quantity demanded and price. So if we're using pizza still, so if you've got a low income distribution, so say this is our standard, say there's a low income distribution. So basically you might find yourself that's in like a low socioeconomic area. So if you're in a low socioeconomic area and you're eating pizza, what could happen is that, so if you're in a low socioeconomic area, people might not have as much disposable income. So, low socioeconomic equals low disposable income. Alright, so if you've got a low disposable income, well, they're just not going to be able to purchase as much, okay? So it means your quantity demanded at all prices is going to decrease. They just don't have the funds there. Right? There's a low socioeconomic. They just don't have the disposable income. So you're going to see a shift this way. Whereas if you're in a pretty wealthy area, say, I'd say Wollongong, people have higher disposable incomes. Alright, so you're going to go this way. So it depends on the area. It depends what the income distribution is. Alright, depends on socioeconomic status, say maybe of the area. Obviously other factors can come in. Say such as people might consume more Domino's pizza. But this is now in terms of, that then becomes a range on like different prices or different businesses or companies and what they want to price at, what they're trying to achieve. But in general, when we're looking at quantity demanded, if there's low socioeconomic, you're going to see a shift left because they just have a lower disposable income, so there's going to be less consumption of products. If you're in a high socioeconomic area, socioeconomic area, this equals high disposable income, which will result in the demand curve shifting right because they've got a lot more money. Quantity demanded at any price has increased just because they have a lot more they have a lot more potential to consume more. Expectations. So consumer expectations. So if we have a look. So for consumer expectations, so quantity demanded, the price. If consumers, say we're here, what happens is COVID. People are getting worried about the economy. They don't know what's going to happen. They're getting nervous. So what do? They start saving. So people aren't spending as much of their income, okay? So because consumers are a little bit worried, they're spending less. This is going to drive down the quantity demanded by consumers at all prices. Right? Obviously opposite. If consumers are happy, they think the economy's booming. They're excited. Obviously, they're going to consume more. They're going to meet more of those consumer. They're going to satisfy more consumer quality of life. So they're going to spend more. They're going to satisfy those needs, and they're going to satisfy those wants. So there's that one, and then a change in technology, which is the last one. So if you've got a change in technology, say for example, iPhones. For example, with the iPhone, right, so with the iPhone, what you have, so say you have an iPhone 10. iPhone 10. What happens is, brand new technology. Apple, they release the iPhone 11. What's going to happen? Quantity demanded, it's going to decrease. The quantity demanded for the iPhone 11, it's going to increase. New technology, people want it. They want to consume. Okay, so quantity demanded is going to increase. So if this graph represents the quantity demanded for the iPhone 10, doesn't matter at what price, you're still going to see. So quantity demanded is going to decrease at all prices because of that change in technology. Alright, so that goes through every single one of those points. That goes through how those shifts work. That supports your notes. So now we're going to